Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your host, Kristen,
Nicole,
and Hannah. Come join our porch swing conversations.
filled with lots of faith, hope, and heart.
Hey Hallmarkies, we're back with another episode, and today we will be recapping the 2021 Hallmark Christmas movie, My Christmas Family Tree.
Starring Amy Teagarden as Vanessa Hall, Andrew Walker as Chris, James Tupper as Richard Hendricks, Kendall Cross as Pauline Hendricks, Georgia May Orchard as Amelia Hendricks, Ava Tellick as Caitlin Hendricks, Colby McClendon as Aiden Hendricks. When Vanessa receives the results from her family tree DNA test, she discovers a family she didn't know existed and travels to their home for Christmas. Fun fact, Hallmarkies and postables out there, Ava Tellick, who plays Caitlin, she plays Hannah in For Christmas. Yes. So Hannah, what is your first thought on this movie? What would you rank this movie?
I would definitely rate this movie a 10 out of 10. And before we get into that, I can't go by without mentioning the fact that I love Andrew Walker. He has been my favorite actor for many years now. I just think all of his movies are just fantastic. I just think he plays his roles so well. And I just love the way that his acting comes across on the screen. So first of all, when I heard about this movie, I was super excited to hear that Andrew was coming out with another movie. And then when I heard about the synopsis of the movie, I was like, wow, this is going to be a great one. It's going to really tug at the heartstrings. And it really did that. It was a very heartwarming, very moving movie. I loved it. I really loved it.
I totally agree on all of your thoughts. I love Andrew too. He's one of my favorite Hallmark actors. And I am looking forward to meeting him at Rama Drama in West Palm Beach in January. It'll be an awesome weekend.
Yes, that's so exciting.
But I would probably give this movie a 10 out of 10, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of the best this year.
Definitely. I would say out of all the ones I've seen so far, of all the Christmas movies, this one was definitely my favorite, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the major plot points first?
Sure.
All right. So the opening scene, we see a young woman who we find out is Vanessa. She's looking at a family photo on, I'm guessing, a colleague's desk. Is that what's happening?
I believe so.
And this is at work. She's then running around putting small gifts on all of her coworkers' desks and then attending to work duties. And later we find out that Vanessa, she took a family tree DNA test. She's 50% Scandinavian, 27% British and Irish, 16% Spanish, 5.5% French, and 1.5 West African. And the results of that DNA test showed a paternal match. So her biological father, and his name is Richard Hendricks, and he is from Barrington, Connecticut. So what were your first thoughts on her DNA test? Like, what was your initial reaction?
Oh, I thought it was those results are very interesting. And I just have to say, I think we're going to have to come back to this later because some of those numbers just, I don't know about that. I feel like something got switched and they don't quite tell us at the end of the movie what goes on with that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But I definitely thought that the results were very interesting. But yeah, I can't even imagine though what she was going through when she got that result that she has a parental match. And she finds out that she has a father that she never knew. I mean, I can't even imagine putting myself in her shoes. I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like. I mean, I will say that I do have family members who, were adopted. So I do have family members who have taken these tests and who have found out who their real family was. And so it definitely hits close to home for sure for me because I do have that experience in my own family, very close to me. But yeah, I can't even imagine what she's going through. And then to be able to, take that step, as we are going to talk about how she ends up going to meet him, and just the courage and strength that she has from that is just, wow. Yeah, definitely hit home for me for sure.
Yeah, and I love how I loved how kind of panicky she was about like first reaching out, and she asked her friend Dee Dee, she's like, what should I do? Like, what if he doesn't, what if he doesn't respond? And she said, that's on him. It's not you. But
Right.
yeah. And then of course in that same scene, she does reach out. She sends him a message, and she tells him that she lives in New York City, and he's her paternal match. And I can't remember what else the message said. Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was definitely something like that. And just to imagine what that text was like. And then on the flip side, to see how Richard responded to that, and to see that
I think he fell off the ladder. He was just like,
yeah, a little bit, definitely a little bit there. Like that's got to be quite a shock, just like, because he never knew about her.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be such a shock.
Yeah.
But when I think about this movie, I always think about that phone call when Richard calls her, and how much strength that would have took for both of them to be able to do that, to make that call. And he just seems so open. Like, it wasn't like it terrified him. He wasn't terrified. He wasn't scared. And the fact that he was just very open to the fact that, he has this daughter that he never knew about. And in addition to that, to see how open his family is to her, that just really hit home for me as well, just to see how incredibly supportive
I agree.
Richard's life was.
Yeah.
Of the fact that he has another daughter.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of maybe jumping ahead a little there, but I just think that that's just such a beautiful part of the story.
Yeah,
I loved
agree. Yeah, and his first conversation on the phone with Vanessa was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just the banter back and forth, and just like how nervous Vanessa was. She was just like, I don't know.
Right.
This is probably on top of the list of most awkward conversations or something.
Right. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I mean, what do you say in that situation? Like,
I've
there's
never
really
been in that situation.
Yeah, no, me neither. Like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, what do you say? Like, and I just think the fact that, neither one of them, like, I feel like it would be very awkward, but, it didn't come off as awkward. Like, it came out, like I said, very open. They were very open to each other. Despite the fact that, this is, kind of a scary situation. Like, in a good way, of course, but it's still scary. It's like, it's very unknown territory for both of them. Charted waters. So
the scene after Richard gets the message from Vanessa, I believe it's the scene when he's talking to his wife. Am I correct?
Yes.
Pauline. That was another one of my favorite scenes. And he tells her about what's going on with the DNA test, and we find out that Richard, he was in the military. And later on, we find out specifically that he was in the Army. And Pauline, his wife, asks him, about, I believe the question was, where were you 32 years ago? And then, he goes into talking about how he was in the Army, and then he dated a woman named Trish before his second tour of duty. And when he got back 2 years later from overseas in the Middle East, he couldn't find her. And I guess he just kind of moved on with his life. And then we see Richard and Vanessa planning to meet in person for the first time. The scene with Richard and Vanessa meeting for the first time. As Vanessa is approaching him, we see that Richard is singing a Christmas carol with a lot of other people by the Christmas tree. And she says how she's surprised that, he knows the words to the song. And he mentions that he and his family are big Christmas carolers, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, I actually forgot about how that's how they met up, where she came in and she saw him singing with the carolers. I thought that was really cool. That was a neat touch. Definitely the way that happened, how she kind of saw him first from the back.
Yeah, I loved that scene.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And then the conversation that they both had after, we find out that, or as they're getting to know each other, I believe Richard is asking about her mom, and she says that her name isn't Trish, it's Patty,
Right.
and she passed away a while ago. And when she passed away, the only other family that she had was her grandmother, but she was in assisted living. So
Right.
her grandmother was not able to take care of her. Vanessa was a foster child until she left for college. We also find out that Vanessa works at a nonprofit placing kids in foster families, which is an awesome job.
That just got me. Like the fact that she would do that after what she had gone through. I love stories like that. Just where you see where your experiences, like your personal experiences in your life, some of the hardest experiences in your life can lead you to that position where you can help others through those experiences in that way. Those are just like some of my favorite storylines and just such an inspiration to see how, you know, the worst parts of our life can turn into amazing things if we allow ourselves to use that pain for good. So yeah, that was such like a special storyline. And also like just to see Vanessa's strength and being able to ask Richard what happened with her mom. If I was in that situation, I don't think I would be able to just ask him that. I think I would be so nervous. I don't think I would have the strength to be able to ask, like, so what happened? There's no way. I just feel like that's just like, because at the time she had no idea. She didn't know that, you know, one, she wasn't aware that, you know, for all she knew, he could have been someone who just left and never came back. And she had no idea that he didn't even know she existed. I feel like to be able to hear that also would have been so healing, to just know from one hand that, you know, he didn't abandon me. He just had no idea. And if he would have known, he would have, you know, tried to find me. So.
Yeah, and that reminds me of Chris's pep talk to Vanessa before she meets the family.
Right.
And he said almost that exact same thing, that if he knew that he had a daughter, he would have done everything that he could to find her.
Right, exactly. And, you know, jumping back a little bit before we get to that conversation, I mean, this is already a really high stressful situation for Vanessa, because she's doing something that, you know, she's going to meet her family for the first time in 30 plus years. She never knew about them. And all of a sudden she's getting, you know, she's in the middle of this situation where she's going to meet her family. But to hear that, you know, she's going to be picked up by a complete stranger. I mean, she's basically already going to meet strangers who are her family, who she never knew about. But then to hear that, you know, a friend of the family is going to be picking her up, and it's this guy who she has no idea about. She has no idea what the story is behind that, why he's close with her family. That would be nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine.
We also hear that Chris had also never heard of her. Like,
right, exactly.
He never mentioned her, and that was probably because he had no idea that she existed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone in this situation, it's completely new territory for everyone. Nobody was expecting any of this. And so I think that's also kind of the beauty of it, though, is to just see how welcoming everyone is with each other and how open they are to, you know, give each other a chance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love Chris. I love his character. I think he's just such like a sweet guy. And to just, you know, like you said, that conversation in the car when he's driving Vanessa to her dad's house, like I just like, that was just such a beautiful discussion.
That was another one of my favorite scenes.
So open. Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Speaking of Vanessa and Chris's drive up to Connecticut, we find out when they stop for hot chocolate.
Right. Heinies know where this is going.
We find out when Vanessa and Chris stop for hot chocolate, Vanessa is asking him questions, you know, trying to get to know him. And he tells her that, I believe the question was, you know, how do you know Richard and the family? And he says that Richard and then his dad were in the Army together for basic training and 2 tours. Chris also said that Richard said his dad saved his life.
Oh, nice catch. Nice catch. I completely forgot about that. Nice catch.
And of course, Heine's out there, we know. Yes. Tyler Hines makes a cameo appearance as the waiter in this movie.
When I saw that, I like did a double take because I saw it and I was like, wait, that's Tyler. I was like, what?
I know, I saw it on Twitter and I was like, what? I had no idea that Tyler was in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it without knowing. And so when I watched it and I saw that, I was like, wait. I was like, I recognized Tyler immediately, but then I was like, wait, what? Like, what? And his haircut, he had like a haircut now. And I was like, wow,
it's
okay.
Awesome. I love seeing Tyler's cameo in this.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And a cool little tidbit there is something that I never knew is Tyler Hines is actually the cousin of Andrew Walker's wife, Cassandra.
That is awesome.
I never knew that, and
I never knew it either.
Such a cool little behind the scenes tip there is like I was very surprised about that because like I saw the banter between Tyler and Andrew going back and forth on Twitter, and then I saw him mention cuz, and I was like, I wonder if they are related, and I looked it up. I was like, wow, it's his wife's cousin. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I think one of the comments from Andrew, it was kind of funny. I think it was from Andrew. He said something like, I'm finally in a Tyler Hines movie or something.
Right. Yeah, and then there's this other fun little banter where they were talking about how Andrew didn't tip Tyler. And Andrew was like, oh no, I promise I Venmo'd you. I did. And I was like, I don't know about that. Or something along those lines. But the banter hilarious. Back and forth between them was hilarious.
That is hilarious. I can't wait to meet both of them at Rama Drama.
Yeah, that's gonna be so awesome. I'm so excited.
Oh, thanks. All right. Well, going back to the movie, we also find out that Chris, he is a corporate attorney. And then a few scenes after that, or maybe it's the scene after they stop for hot chocolate, we see Vanessa meeting her family for the first time. And she has 3 siblings, Caitlin, Aiden, and Amelia. And that is from oldest to youngest. Is the way I read that. As Vanessa is giving a tour of the house, we find out that Amelia is singing a solo to Away in a Manger in the church's Christmas pageant. Chris loves baseball, and he's always loved baseball. And Richard took him to his first Yankees game when he was 6 years old.
You know, when I'm thinking about that scene, just going back a little bit to when she first arrives at the house and she meets the family for the first time, there's some very different reactions between all 3 kids. And I thought it was, I like the way that each of the actors portrayed that. I feel like some of them were very resistant, like they had no idea what to do, and some of them were more open to it. And I think that just shows the different personalities of the situation, also the way that receive stuff. Sometimes it takes a little while to let stuff sink in, but they really didn't have any time to let it sink in. It just just happened. But to just see the different ways that each one of the siblings reacted was very interesting. And I love how the brother was so very open. If I'm remembering correctly, I feel like he was the most open at first to it. And then, the oldest one was a little bit more, she was more like, okay, but she was still, had her reservations. And the youngest one obviously was very shy. And that makes total sense. I couldn't even imagine being those 3 kids and finding out that I have this older sister that I never knew about, whose mom is not my mom,
Yeah.
And I couldn't even imagine. And they're kids. When I was a kid, I was terrified, anyone who was older than me, I was terrified of them. But and then to find out, that I have this sister who's an adult and I've never met her before, I would have been terrified to be here. I would have been like, I don't know about this. This is just really weird. So I couldn't imagine I couldn't even imagine being those kids, but it was definitely cool to see how throughout the movie, how Vanessa's relationship with each one of her new siblings, grows, and how
Mhm.
she gets
I love
to
that.
know even better. I love that. Mhm.
One of the funny moments or lines that I wrote from that scene when she's meeting her family is when Chris is kind of, standing up for her, backing her up, and he was like, I had her vetted. And Amelia says, but Dad, why did Chris take her to the vet?
Yes, I forgot about that line. That was gold. That was pure gold. I loved it. That was
That was
awesome.
awesome.
That was so
I was
funny.
cracking up.
That
I was
so
like, no, it's not the vet, like the veterinarian. He had her like vetted, like make sure she's who she says she is.
Yeah, it's so funny. It just I love how innocently she said that too. And she's like, why did you go to the vet?
Yes.
So innocent
Oh,
about
goodness.
it. Love that.
Back to the scene when Vanessa is getting a tour of the house. I believe this is in the same scene. We find out that Richard's mother is from Norway.
Yes,
So,
that's right. Which
talking
I
about
find
DNA again.
right, which I find very interesting
Yeah.
that didn't show up in the DNA test.
How did Norwegian not show up in the DNA test?
Yeah, I wonder. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, we will just have to wait and see.
Or maybe not, but we'll talk about that.
It was really short, but I loved the scene when Vanessa was talking to Aiden, trying to get to know him a little bit. And he tells Vanessa that he is in the 6th grade. And then I think one of them or both of them say something else. And then Vanessa says that she has never been ice skating and that she has always wanted a brother, which I thought was really sweet.
That was really sweet. I thought that came at a really good moment, I would say. I think it was very sweet. I think that was definitely a way for her to kind of, open the door.
Break the ice.
Break the ice, open the door. Yeah. To, having a relationship, like a sisterly relationship with her new brother. So I like that.
When they're roasting marshmallows, another one of my favorite scenes, we find out that Richard met Vanessa's mom in Providence, Rhode Island, and she had an apartment downtown by the old Majestic Theater.
Right.
And I believe I remember correctly that Vanessa did not remember that her mom lived in Rhode Island.
No, she didn't. Vanessa seemed very surprised, maybe not shocked, but I would say kind of pretty close to it. Like she just seemed she didn't know what to say because she was like, I don't know how I didn't know that, which is interesting that she didn't know that. But
yeah, I thought it was interesting too.
She was very young, like when her mom died, but still, it's definitely interesting. Maybe she did know that. Maybe she just didn't remember. I don't know.
The next scene, we see the family. They're coming inside the house, and Vanessa, she gets a message on her phone marked urgent about the DNA test.
Oh.
That kind of just like kind of broke my heart a little bit because I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
I mean, we knew it was coming from the trailer, but when you're watching the movie and you see that, you're just like, oh, and it's a Hallmark movie, so of course, everything's gonna be okay in the end. But it's just you see something like that happen, and you think about it. If like this was real life, like, oh, that'd just be so scary and heartbreaking because you kind of know what's coming when you hear that urgent message. So yeah, oh,
it broke my heart.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't even imagine having to tell the person that you find out is your biological dad, he's not your dad.
No, I mean, there's really no easy way to say that. I mean, and it's Christmas time and all the families are, even more families coming, and you get to that scene a little bit later where she meets, all the extended family. Cousins, and she feels so much guilt, and you just see the look on her face as she's meeting all of them. Not only is she overwhelmed by the fact that there's all these new people, she also has this, this secret, this thing that she hears that she knows is gonna, break this whole thing apart. And I just felt so bad for her.
I did too.
That's not easy.
Another thing we find out is that Chris's parents, they passed away in a car accident on the way to Michigan to visit him at law school when he was 22. And he mentioned that he just couldn't face the holidays the next couple of years until Richard talked him into coming to visit with the family. And he's been going every year since, which I thought that was a really nice moment, even though it's heartbreaking to hear about his parents passing away.
Yeah, definitely heartbreaking to see that, that's what Chris has gone through, but also really just sweet to see how comfortable he feels with Richard and his family, and how he's basically like an adopted son,
Yeah.
like very much, adopted him into their family. And the fact that he's this single man, in his, I would say, early 30s, and he's still, he's the single man, and he's still, going to hang out with this couple who has these kids. And the fact that, he just continues to do that year after year. And I just think you don't see that very often. Like normally men in that age, if they were alone, they might be hanging out with some buddies their own age, or like, just maybe in another situation. But the fact to just see how close he is with this family, has these kids, is just so sweet. And I loved to see that bond that, Chris has with Richard. I just think that's just really sweet.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but one of my favorite scenes was when Chris was asking Richard's permission to, I believe the word he used was to court Vanessa.
Yes. I love it. I loved that. So sweet. And as Andrew so brilliantly said, chivalry is not dead. It's very much alive.
I totally agree.
Way to go, Chris. That was great.
I love that. Yeah.
One thing that I really also loved about this movie is when, I think it was the first meal that they all had together as the family, before they ate their meal, they said a prayer.
Yes.
And that to me, like, that just meant so much to me, the fact, because I feel like, we really don't see that a lot in these Christmas movies. I feel like, that's what Christmas is all about. Ultimately, it's about Jesus.
I agree.
And so to see the fact that, they're bringing God into this movie, and, in that way, and recognizing the fact that it's not just about,
the gifts,
what everyone seems, yes, the reason for the season, and just to see that, that they are still acknowledging that, and that they're praying, and that they're talking about that. I think that just meant so much to me. I love to see that in this movie, and I think that just made it all the more special. And to see how much, they were singing hymns, and they were singing about the reason for Christmas and about Jesus.
Same way.
I love that. So that just meant a lot to me, and even more so to see that the actor who plays Richard, James Tupper, he was actually in the Love Comes Softly series. He was in some of those movies, and he played a rancher who was also a pastor. And so just to see him in this movie, and to see, those themes coming together, I thought that was really special. So all of those things tied together just made this movie extra special for me. I just remember that, so I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When Vanessa is decorating the Christmas tree with the family, we see Richard ask her, what she did as a kid for Christmas, and she mentioned that her and her mother, they would always go into the city to Rockefeller Plaza and see the tree, and then have a nice dinner afterwards, which would be really fun. That's an awesome way to spend part of your Christmas. I've never seen the Rockefeller tree at Christmas, but it would be something awesome to see.
Yeah.
I've only been to Rockefeller in spring, so March.
Yeah, I'm sure Vanessa has some very special memories of her mom in Christmas doing that. So I'm glad she could talk about that.
Yeah, I believe while they were making gingerbread houses, we hear that Chris's dad was a musician and played guitar. and his mom was a third grade teacher, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool, especially the fact that his dad, played the guitar. I thought that was pretty cool, and that his mom was a teacher. Very
The next scene is when she gets the message about the DNA results mix up, which broke my heart.
I know.
There were 2 Vanessa Halls in the system, and it was a glitch, and the test was switched, is what we find out.
That is
Can you even
just.
imagine?
I know. I can't even fathom what that would be like to be her in that situation. And like, this isn't just any test. This is like families. This is like families are at stake here. And to just hear something like that happen, and to just see, I don't know, it's not like there are these people who, don't care.
Yeah.
They care a lot about her. They've welcomed her into their home, and then to just see she finally gets this family that she's always wanted. And then to see her get this bomb drop on her, that this family who she's always wanted, who she's coming to really love and care about, she finds out that they might not actually be her family. That would just be so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I agree.
Which also brings me back to, if Richard wasn't really her father, wouldn't Richard have also gotten a message that said that this Vanessa isn't his daughter, Vanessa, that it's actually the other one?
Yeah.
Which also kind of put the red flag, gave me a little bit of a red flag too. I mean, it's a Hallmark movie, so I knew that Richard was actually Vanessa's dad. I knew it. Like, I knew that wasn't where the mix-up was at. But I was just like, if, this is a story, so they want us to think at this point in the story that that's what it is.
Yeah, that she.
When Richard be getting the same message too, like, to me, that was just a little bit of a red flag there. And also, as we mentioned, the other test didn't say that she was Norwegian, which is also a flag for me as well. So 2 and 2 are not enough. So something happened there. But going back to the storyline and where we're at in the story, talking about Vanessa getting this message, to think about that and to just see how faulty, you can't always rely on computers. You can't rely on all this stuff. Like, you never know. Sometimes, things happen, but to just see like the reality of that, and how, I wonder how often in real life that actually happens, where they do these tests, and I wonder if that ever happens in real life, where it gets switched, and how much damage that actually can do.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, just think about it. This might be a little bit out there, but think about it. Like, what if that had happened? And in the story, we never see that there's actually a message where they say that, no, we were wrong. So think about that. Like, if that happened in real life, where like something like this happens and they don't realize that the system made a mistake and they just let it go on, I don't know, a long period of time. And to see like how this stuff has already happened, and then to hear that happens, like how much damage that could do. That's really sad.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good question. And you do have a point about her father. Like that, I didn't even think about it, but that is a red flag. That if he wasn't her father, then he should have gotten the same message that she did.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, it's a DNA test, so shouldn't it be right? Shouldn't both parties be contacted?
Right. So there's something else. Not that part. It wasn't that. Something else got switched.
Yeah. The last 2 things we find out is the movie is coming to an end. We find out that Richard and Pauline met because she was his nurse after he got a gash above his eye from being elbowed by Chris's dad while watching a hockey game.
That was so funny.
That's how Richard and Pauline met, because of Chris's dad.
I think that's so funny, but it's such a full circle moment though too, and how sweet that is.
Yeah.
It really is very sweet if you think about that. And to see Richard and Chris's relationship now, I love that.
Yeah.
So sweet.
And finally we find out at the end of the movie that Vanessa is really Richard's daughter, and her biological mom is Patricia Hall. This happens after Richard finds an old photo of Patricia in an old box, in a box of old photos.
Right. You know what I love about that? I kind of love the fact that the test got it wrong, because it just shows how strong that the bond that Richard has with his daughter. Richard, I don't think ever doubted
No.
that it was his daughter. Once he met her, once he saw who she was, he didn't doubt it. And another thing that I really love is how sad all three of his children were when Vanessa left. They didn't even care.
I think Caitlin even said, she's like, I don't even care. She doesn't have a family.
Right, exactly. And the fact that they just loved her so much, they created this bond and they welcomed her into their home, to the point where there's like, even if she wasn't, they would have still adopted her into their family anyways.
Yeah.
Like, that was just so sweet. And I just loved that. I just loved how Vanessa had a lot of feelings. She was obviously very hurt, but I just love how much the family was like, this, that doesn't matter. In the day, that doesn't matter. We still love you. We still care about you. We're here for you. That's just like the sweetest, most selfless thing. I just think that was so sweet. And I think it's really interesting too that Richard had a photo of her mom after all those years. I thought that was really kind of funny, very interesting, but also it was very important that he did have that photo. So ultimately, it was a good thing he kept it, but I think it's very interesting that he still had that photo.
I agree. And going back to how upset Amelia and Caitlin and Aiden were, it kind of broke my heart when, I believe it was the scene when Vanessa was leaving, like, leaving the Christmas Eve party, and she had just walked out the door, and Amelia, I believe, looks up at her mom or her dad or both, and she was like, so she's not my sister? And then she just runs up the stairs. Like, that just broke my heart.
I know, that was so sad. And and like in the middle of taking those family photos too, like to just see, I just felt so bad for Vanessa. She was like, I should not be here. Like, this is not okay.
Yeah, she was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
And to do that in front of the extended family too. Oh my goodness. I was just like, oh, I felt for her. Oh.
I think we pretty much covered all the major storylines. Do you want to get into favorite moments that we haven't already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much mentioned all of them, because like as you were talking, I just remember. But yeah, definitely just like this whole storyline in general, just the growth and to see how everything played out. I just love the fact that everyone was very open and just loving with each other, and to just see how you take this really terrible situation that Vanessa had gone through, this really, really sad childhood that she had, and to just see how she ends up finding out that, she has this father that she never knew about, but then to find out that he also never knew about her. So it wasn't like she was the only one who wasn't aware. And it wasn't like he had abandoned her, like I talked about before. To see that, they were both just, it was a gift. It was the perfect Christmas gift. They both found out, that they had this family that they never knew about. And to just see the progress of that, and to see how they really grew to, really become a real family as they should be, and to see her siblings. And then on the side of it, also to see Chris and how Chris intertwines in that whole storyline, and how Chris really helps Vanessa through this whole situation. And then to also learn what Chris went through as well. I just think the whole storyline, tying that all together, was just beautiful. And then, like I said, to see that God and Jesus were recognized in the story as well, and they were a very central part of it. And to just see this beautiful story of Christmas and family, and what love, what it's all about.
Yeah.
This ultimate love, perfect, the perfect gifts that can only come from above. Like, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful storyline. And I think the actors played it so well. Andrea and Emily did it they just had such beautiful chemistry together. And it was just such a beautiful movie. And like, those are the kind of movies that I love. I love the movies take these real situations, like these really hard situations that people go through, and see how, something beautiful can come out of it. And because it felt really real. This one felt really real. It wasn't like the story. This one I really connected to, and it really got a lot of things home for me. So I just thought it was a beautiful story.
I think so too. I guess I could just read some of my favorite moments that I haven't already mentioned. So I love the first scene, or it's in the opening scene, when the kids that I guess, she helped pair them with their foster family. They're singing her "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." I thought that was really sweet. Of course, I loved Chris and Vanessa's meet cute moment. I thought that was really cute. Thought it was really sweet.
That was cute.
It's under my list of funny lines or funny moments. The line from Vanessa and Chris when he goes to pick up her suitcase, and Chris says, "Wow, what do you have in here? Gold?" And then Vanessa says, "Yes, along with some frankincense and myrrh." I thought that was hilarious.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that scene. But and then he was like something like how he used to be so confused because he's like, "Wait, Frankenstein?" I was like, and then at the end when she gives him the gold, Frankenstein and myrrh, that got me. I loved that so much. Thank you for reminding me. That was gold. I loved it. No pun intended, but that was total gold.
That was awesome. Another one of my favorite moments was the Christmas tree shopping and decorating of the tree. Who doesn't love Christmas tree shopping and decorating the Christmas tree? Although I've never had a live Christmas tree.
Me neither. But it sounds really fun though. Like I feel like it'd be really cool. It'd be messy, but it would be cool. But
yeah, I've heard that they shed a lot.
They do, yes. But it wouldn't be a Hallmark Christmas movie without it. So
nope.
Gotta have the live Christmas trees. I love it.
I love the scene with Vanessa making the popcorn garland with Amelia, trying to break the ice with her, get to know her a little bit. I thought that was a sweet moment.
It was very sweet.
It was the Christmas shopping and the ice skating, making the gingerbread houses, Vanessa and Caitlin Christmas shopping for the Christmas dance that Caitlin was going to. That was a sweet little bonding moment between them.
That was really sweet. And I love how Vanessa talked Richard into letting her go.
Yeah, I did too.
Like I was like, wow, that was a very bold move there. But you go, girl. Like you stand up for your sister.
Of course, the Christmas pageant. Such a beautiful Christmas pageant. I mean, the music,
definitely
the backdrop, or the set that they used was beautiful.
The song they sang, so sweet.
Yeah,
her solo.
She did a great job.
She did.
Chris and Vanessa wrapping the Christmas gifts was really cute, and him admitting that he didn't know how to wrap Christmas gifts.
I mean, honestly, I felt him there because I'm terrible at wrapping. Nobody wants to see. Nobody wants me to wrap their gifts. That's why I love present bags. I love present bags because I am not good with wrapping paper. I'm just not. I laughed out loud when he said that because I was like, oh, me too. I totally get you. Totally get you.
I loved the scene when they were making the snowman and then it kind of broke into the snowball fight. That looked like a lot of fun. Who doesn't love the snowball fight?
In typical Hallmark fashion too.
Yeah. Chris asking Vanessa on a date, that was a really cute moment. And she was trying to decide, if she should actually accept his offer. And, he was just like, do it,
Yeah, right. He was very direct. He's like, just do
it. Don't hesitate.
Like, really, just do it. Oh, I love that. Like, I feel like in a lot of the Hallmark movies too, I feel like the guy just kind of like tends to like walk away. Like if the girl's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like he doesn't really fight for it. I feel like Chris did a very good job of saying, no, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do. Don't be afraid. Just do it. And I love that. I love how bold he was. but he was bold, but he didn't do it, you know. He had every right to be bold in that moment, because he could see through Vanessa's insecurities about it. So I love that. Oh yeah, and that also reminds me of Vanessa's Christmas present for her dad,
Yes.
Richard, the ginormous blow up Santa Claus.
That was awesome.
I forget what the quote was, how they said it, but she said something to the effect of, like, it's not that big or something like that.
She said something about, I have a present for you. Your giant Santa or something is present, or something like that.
Well, she before that, she definitely said something to the effect, like, it's not that big or something like that. I don't know. It was really funny. Yeah. I should have wrote it down. I haven't seen the movie in a few days, so I definitely wasn't prepared to make notes on that. But yeah, no, she definitely made a comment about it, and it was completely under exaggerated.
It was awesome though. And I loved the kids' reactions to it. I think Amelia just kind of was like, yes, we have a new Santa.
That was funny.
The last four on my list for favorite moments was Richard and Chris's conversation by the Christmas tree. And this was when Richard was telling Chris to go after Vanessa. Like, it doesn't matter that she's not part of the family. And this was before that we find out that she actually is part of the family. But, you know, kind of pushing him to go after her.
Right.
The next one is Richard and the family going to see Vanessa in New York and singing outside of her window.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really sweet moment, and how, like, as soon as they, like, found the photo of Vanessa's mom, they, like, all just got on the car and they just drove up to her house. And they just start singing outside her window, and she just did not know. She was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I think Nikki, her puppy, like, noticed.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I do find it very interesting that the family got there before Chris, which makes sense afterwards, because we find out that he stopped to get her a Christmas tree, which I thought was very sweet. That was very sweet. But at first I was like, how did her family get here before he did?
I know. At first that's what I was thinking too. But then, like, a few seconds later, the doorbell rings.
Right.
And he is standing at the door with the Christmas tree. I love their first kiss. Their first kiss was really sweet.
That was sweet. Going back to when her family got there, though, when they bring out the photo of her mom, and she just looks at it and she's just like, that's my mom. And that's all that she needed to say. That's all that needed to be said. And then they all I think they all, like, did, like, a group hug after that. I remember correctly.
I think one of them said it probably was Richard. He was like, bring it in, and they all just gave her
it was so sweet. Oh, no words needed. That was precious.
The Christmas gift exchange, although it's a little brief, I thought that was a nice moment too, to kind of wrap up the movie.
Right. Yes. Very sweet. Very
I
sweet.
love how Amelia was so excited about her trip to New York with the day at the salon and the Broadway play. And I believe sleepover.
That was really sweet. Definitely. Like, I mean, who doesn't want, to have, a fun day like that with your older sister? I mean, that would be so fun, I think. So that was really sweet for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any funny moments or lines that you want to share that you haven't already?
I mean, I think I covered them. I mean, I can't quite remember exactly. Like I said, it's been a few days since I saw this movie, and at first I didn't even know that we were going to recap it. So this was kind of last minute for me, but I think I just basically covered it. There were just some really cute, funny lines, just the banter between everyone. I mean, I think my favorite one was the frankincense or Frankenstein and myrrh. That was
one of my favorites too.
That took the cake for me. That was hilarious, and to just see once again, already mentioned this, but how Vanessa gifted him the Frankenstein and the myrrh. That was that was awesome. I love
Another
it.
one that stuck out, or another funny line that I loved, was after Vanessa and Dee Dee find out about her father, and Dee Dee is, researching something on her computer, and Vanessa says, "What are you doing?" And then Dee Dee says, "Checking to see if he has social media." Like, you always got to go to social media first.
I mean, obviously, where have you been? Like, girl, come on, obviously. I mean, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, same. Another funny line was from the first family dinner that they all had when Vanessa got there. And they're talking about, Amelia asks Chris about what she does or what he does for Christmas. And I think he said something about like he gets takeout from Julia's or something. And Vanessa says, "Is Julia your girlfriend?"
Oh, yeah. It was so innocent too. She's just
I love
like not
Caitlin.
with everyone there. It's just everyone's there, and she's just blunt. Is that your girlfriend? Oh my!
I love Caitlin's face. She's just like, But we find out a few seconds. We find out a few seconds later that no, he doesn't have a girlfriend named Julia. It's the name of Chris's favorite restaurants in a town called Chelsea, and it's called Julia's Kitchen.
And Vanessa also knows about it.
Yes. The last one I have is when Vanessa and Chris and Richard are on the porch. I believe they're trying to figure out what's going on with the Christmas lights. And Chris asked how the shopping went with Caitlin. And Vanessa's talking about the dress that Caitlin bought. And I think Vanessa says, something about how it's a beautiful dress. And I think Richard says something along the lines of, "I hope not too beautiful. I'm not ready to have young suitors knocking at the door." And Chris says, "The fact that you still call them young suitors definitely says you're not ready."
Oh my, that's so typical too. I love that.
I loved it too.
That's funny.
Do you want to get into our last segment?
Yes.
We're going to change it up a little bit today, Hallmarkies, with a Would You Rather.
Yeah, we thought that would be kind of fun to end this segment or this episode.
Do you want to go first? Do you want to read the first question?
Sure. All right. Okay, so for the first question, would you rather buy ornaments or make them? And we tried to base these would you rather questions kind of off of some of the themes in the movie or things that happened in the movie.
Yes.
So, yes. So I guess, do you want to answer first?
Sure. Well, I love both, but I would probably have to say make ornaments.
Okay. I could see that. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say when I was a child, I would have definitely loved to make them. But I think now I feel like that just takes a lot of time. And I personally love to go shopping. So
I do too.
I would definitely buy them. I love, like, as soon as, all the Christmas stuff gets put up in like stores, I love going around and like window shopping and looking at all the different ornaments. I think it's something fun to do. So I would say buy for sure.
Yeah. And speaking about Christmas shopping, we haven't been there in a long time, but every summer I used to go to Sunset Beach in North Carolina with one of my cousins and my aunts and my uncles and my mom and my brother. And there is this store in Calabash, which is near Sunset Beach, and it's called Callahan's, and they have this whole section of the store dedicated to Christmas. And I think it's called Saint Knickknacks, I believe is the name of it. But it's awesome. Cute. It is awesome. Cute. If you ever go to North Carolina, if you're ever in that area in North Carolina, definitely go to Callahan's. It's a great store.
Nice. Well, you heard it here, Hallmarkies. Callahan's in North Carolina. Check it out.
Callahan's of Calabash, I think is what it's called. Would you rather drink peppermint hot chocolate or eggnog?
I would definitely have to say peppermint hot chocolate. I don't know if I've ever had peppermint flavored hot chocolate before, but that sounds really good.
It's great, yeah.
I'm definitely gonna go with that. I'm not a huge eggnog person. Like I've definitely had it like a little bit, but I definitely would pick hot chocolate for sure.
Yeah, same.
Would you rather spend the day Christmas shopping or watching Hallmark Christmas movies?
Ooh, this is a hard one because I love both.
I know, right?
But I would probably have to say spend a day watching Hallmark Christmas movies.
I mean, this is largely a Hallmark podcast, so, and we are talking about Hallmark, a Hallmark Christmas movie. So of course I'm gonna say Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yes.
But I would say Christmas shopping is also up there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That is also fun. I also love shopping for people I love. So
Same.
both good options.
I agree. After taking a DNA test, would you rather find out you're 50% Norwegian or 50% British?
Good question, because I may or may not be both of those things. But I would say, I think I would definitely say Norwegian, just because I think Norway is such a beautiful country, and I actually have been to England before. So I have seen the countryside there, and I really love to experience Norway. So I'm gonna say Norwegian.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've heard Norway is a beautiful country. I've never been, but I've heard it's a beautiful country. I would probably have to say 50% British.
Nice. Both are good options.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right. Would you rather ice skate at an indoor ice skating rink or go outside on the lake? Ice skate on the lake, I mean.
I've never gone ice skating on a lake. I would probably have to say ice skating on a lake since I've never experienced that.
Yeah, 100%. I've never done it on a lake either, and I know it can be a little bit riskier, but I love to be outside. I love the outdoors. I love lakes, so definitely 100% on the lake. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so much fun.
As long as it's frozen.
Yes.
As long as it's completely frozen. Definitely on the lake.
Our last would you rather question is, would you rather sing a solo in a Christmas pageant or go Christmas caroling?
Ooh, well, I do love singing. The question is, would I rather sing a solo though, or would I rather go around singing Christmas carols to lots of different people that I don't know, but with a group of people? I'm definitely going to say Christmas caroling. I've honestly never done Christmas caroling. I've always thought it would be awesome. I love singing. I love choir. I love doing that with people I love. So definitely caroling. I mean, if I could sing maybe a duet, I might say the duet, but the solo, I've done that before. It's not my thing. So I definitely say Christmas.
I would pick Christmas caroling too.
Yeah.
All right, Hallmarkies. I think that wraps up our recap of the 2021 Hallmark Countdown to Christmas movie, My Family Christmas Tree. We hope you enjoyed. Such a good movie.
And I will say that DNA tests, I think it's safe to say that the thing that was switched was the part about the nationalities, where she's from, and not the parental results.
I agree.
So I definitely think it's safe to say that. And I know a lot of people were confused about that. They were like, well, what happened then? Because they don't really go into that, but it was definitely had to be the results. And I think the biggest clue is that obviously we know that Richard is her dad, but then also I think you can also see, because her test didn't say Norwegian, that it's safe to assume that that's what was switched.
Yeah.
And that's where the mix-up was. So
I agree. Such a great movie.
Yes. Thought we would just end with that. And such a beautiful storyline. Once again, Andrew's movies never disappoint.
Nope.
Such a great actor, and this was such a great story. All the actors did amazing jobs, and I loved it.
I did too. 10 out of 10.
Yes, for sure. 10 out of 10.
Thank you for listening, y'all. And we hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. We will see you next time.
Time.
Bye.
Bye, Hallmarkies.
Bye, Hallmarkies.